Welcome to NP Certification Q&A, presented by Fitzgerald Health Education Associates. This podcast is for NP students studying to pass their NP certification exam. Getting to the correct test answers means breaking down the exam questions themselves. Expert Fitzgerald faculty clinicians share their knowledge and experience to help you dissect the anatomy of a test question so you can better understand how to arrive at the correct test answer. So, if you're ready, let's jump right in.
CJ is a 23-year-old male being seen today by the PMHNP for an initial evaluation. He says that he does not think anything is wrong, but his family, specifically his mother, grandmother, and aunt, have all told him that he must be mentally ill. He cannot hold a job. He has worked as a cook at more than 5 chain restaurants in the last 6 months. He has no real friends. He says his friends only call him when they need something. He is currently staying with his grandmother, but will soon be homeless unless things change. While he is telling his story, he repeatedly includes details that make it hard to understand his point. When asked why he thinks he will be homeless, he responds by talking about how many hours he has worked and how everything was going well until his car broke down and he could not afford to fix it because his tax return was held by the IRS. The PMHNP recognizes that this represents an abnormal A. affect, B. cognition, C. thought process, or D. abstract reasoning. And C. thought process is the correct answer. This is part of the psychiatric mental status examination. Thought process and thought content sometimes are confused by new clinicians. Thought process really speaks to the logical connection between thoughts and their relevance to the main thread of conversation. Irrelevant detail, repeated words and phrases, interrupted thinking, and loose illogical connections between thoughts are all abnormalities of thought processes. Thought processes are often described with terms like looseness of association, where there's little or no relevance to the topic at hand, flight of ideas, the tendency to change topics from thing to thing, racing thought processes, rapid thoughts, tangential, where the patient just keeps going off on a tangent, departing from the particular topic and not returning to it. Circumstantial, being vague or, quote, beating around the bush. Word salad is flat out nonsensical responses, just, sometimes referred to as jabberwocky. Derailment is extreme irrelevance. Neologism, creating brand new words. Clanging, rhyming words. Punning, talking in riddles, and thought blocking as well as poverty. These are all examples of thought processes. Now, thought content is different. Thought content is where you assess for what the patient is saying rather than how they are saying it. With thought content, you're evaluating for things like hallucinations, obsessions, dissociation, or thoughts of suicidality. So in this circumstance, this patient clearly has an abnormality of thought processes. He is over-including this trivial or irrelevant details, make it difficult to get to the point. When you asked him why he thought he was going to be homeless unless things changed, he went just off on this circumstantial discussion about how many hours he worked and how everything was going well until his car broke down and then he couldn't afford to fix it. He really doesn't answer the very pointed question about why he thinks he will become homeless. This is an abnormality of thought content. A is incorrect. A is affect, and affect speaks to the appearance of mood. In other words, affect is how the patient looks. We often talk about affect in concordance with mood. If the mood is depressed and the affect may be congruent, or if the mood is depressed but the affect is happy, the patient looks happy, the affect would be incongruent with mood. So affect is about expression of mood or the physical appearance, what you observe, and that's not what we're talking about here. Cognition is also incorrect. Cognition describes the patient's level of alertness, their level of orientation, memory, insight into the conversation or topic at hand. And D, abstract reasoning, is incorrect. That would be the patient's ability to expand on a concrete or specific concept to a much broader general idea or application. So clearly here, this is an assessment question. This is very typical of the psychiatric mental health, mental status examination. and CJ is exhibiting an abnormality of thought process.
Thank you for listening to NP Certification Q&A, presented by Fitzgerald Health Education Associates. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And for more NP resources, visit FHEA.com.